we just passed the 1 year mark on Friday of the first confirmed case of COVID in Idaho. I mean, when you think back on the last 12 months, I mean, what's it been like for you?
We just passed that 1 year anniversary of the first case, and this week is the 1 year anniversary of the legislation at the city level that allowed us to pass health emergency ordinances, and then the announcements we made in Boise City to protect our residents. It's been a long year for all of us. It's been a year filled with sacrifice, with, I'd say, hope and optimism, because I've seen our community come together to protect each other so that we can recover in more strong ways. And I sense right now, particularly, that everyone is ready to move beyond this. And we really are on the cusp because we've worked together and come together as a community.
How difficult were those initial decisions that you and your team made at the city level? I remember those early press conferences, they were very tense because nobody knew what was going to happen. And the announcements were very big with closures and restrictions. Does that weigh on you still, or how do you, I guess, reflect on those first big decisions?
Yeah, I remember you were there for the first press conference we had where we were making some of those announcements. They were tough decisions to make, but I'll say that we made them with confidence and certainty because we were learning. We were learning from what other cities had already experienced and some of the missteps that they made, looking at the science and recognizing that while we didn't know much about the virus, there were steps that we could take to protect people. And so as we look back, of course, I wish we had a year where we didn't have to make the decisions we made, but they were done in the spirit of protecting public health and in the belief that if we took care of our people in Boise, we'd be able to recover economically in the long run.
I've spoken with a lot of people in our community, and they've said, 2020 was a year of personal growth, and it wasn't by choice, but that's kind of just what happened. When you have tough times, you have to adapt and see where you go from here. For you, I guess, how do you think you grew in 1 year, especially thinking about how early you were into your term as mayor?
Yeah, we were just, 6 weeks in with our administration. I learned so much. I learned how to build partnerships quickly and to collaborate with leaders across this valley. I learned how to build a team remotely because so many of the people that we hired for our office to deliver on the promises that we made the community were hired during the stay-home order. But I learned, but was also reminded once again how committed Boiseans are to each other, and that when we call on each other to make sacrifices, we will do it. And we saw that time and time again, this desire of Boiseans to help each other, to step up for their community, and to help us protect this community and ensure that we recover in stronger ways.
I know city leaders across Idaho, mayors, city council members, city commissioners, they, I guess, had their job magnified through 2020, where of course their role is to lead, but with such extreme circumstances, that job becomes more difficult. For you, as you mentioned, very early into your term as mayor, what was it like for you to have to lead through these difficult times, especially as you were exposed to very loud critics?
Sure. Well, these were difficult times. And there were times that it felt incredibly isolating because City Hall was closed and we were building out a new administration. But at the same time, as I said before, I was reminded, and it felt as though the community was circling their arms around each other and around me as I was being tasked with making these decisions. And I also, we saw time and time again that, as you mentioned, local government became so important. Local government was asked to make decisions we never expected to be asked to make. And I believe that the city of Boise showed that we would, and that we were committed to protecting the health of our residents and ensuring that from an economic perspective, as we could open up, we did it safely to protect our businesses that in turn protect our people.
Is there anything that you can take away from 2020 in terms of leadership, or for you personally, that you think you probably would have never, I guess, developed if it wasn't for a global pandemic? I know it's hard to find a silver lining in such a hard year, but are there any for you?
Oh, it's so important to find silver linings and also to find opportunities in the challenges that we've had. And my team has done that. This community has done that. I learned a lot about science. I'll just say that, um, that I never expected to be reading on a regular basis updates on viruses and, expertise from the medical professionals in terms of, decisions we'd make at the city level. But most importantly, I learned time and time again that we have deep challenges in this community that extend beyond COVID: housing, transportation, climate, and that our residents are ready to roll up their sleeves and help, from the very basics, most difficult decisions of protecting public health and, shutting businesses for a little bit to ensure that we were safe, to opening safely so that our economy could recover and regrow while protecting each other by masking, and then ultimately rolling up their sleeves and helping us address affordable housing and the other things that are so important to this community as we grow.
Those tough times, I think, were something none of us had imagined before 2020. Loss of family members, businesses gone out of business. For you, in the highest leadership position in the city of Boise, what was it like navigating through these tough times when people were losing their loved ones and looking to you in your office for guidance?
Yeah, that was tough. And I guess I'd say through this experience, we all learn that we can't know everything, that we have to make decisions, trust what the experts know, but at the same time, trust what we're hearing from people, and then move through these tough moments with a bit of comfort with the uncomfortable, which was that we needed to make decisions. We needed to support our residents who were losing loved ones. We needed to honor that in a way that was difficult because we couldn't come together. So we did that by ensuring at the city of Boise that we took every step we could when presented the opportunity or the need to make decisions, no matter how tough, to protect our residents. And that was how we would honor those who lost loved ones. We would support folks that were making sacrifices and losing businesses. And ultimately, by demonstrating that care and that commitment to tough decisions and leadership, that we could now, as the days get longer, the weather gets warmer, people are more hopeful, bring folks back together, not have lost what makes Boise Boise, which is that connection to each other, and then build and rebuild our community and economy from it.
On Friday, I spoke with a trio of leaders in the St. Luke's health system, and their tone was hopeful. And we were talking about optimism and the scientific standpoint over, the next few months, what it will look like next 6, 12 months. Of course, I won't ask you scientifically what that looks like, but for you, what is optimism and hope? What do those words mean to you heading into the next few weeks and months?
Well, first off, optimism and hope are so incredibly important as things that ground each of us, that have helped, at least for me, help me move through this really difficult year. And I've remained optimistic that with the sacrifices people made, with the tough times we were all experiencing, that we would come back together as Boiseans, because we saw time and time again people would, step up for their neighbors. And I've remained hopeful that this too shall pass, and there's so much work to be done as a community. Now, at this time, as things do look better, and I sense that hope and optimism, in our neighborhoods when I'm out and about. But I also see it just in the kids. Last night, there were 12 kids on scooters, all masked, from different families, circling the block over and over again. And that in its own way gave me a sense of optimism, because I saw that kids have adapted. They're doing what they've always done in new ways. But because the weather's warm, they're outside playing as they should be. And soon we will be able to see that in so many different ways, the way I saw last night with our neighbor kids.
You and I talked in January of 2020, right after you had won the election, and we talked about your goals and what you would hope to do over the next several years. And of course, all of that gets derailed, or a lot of that gets derailed. Now that we're kind of returning to a more normal time and it feels like there's light there at the end of the tunnel, what for you is on the agenda, the horizon, to get done and get back to that you weren't able to because of a pandemic?
Well, I just came out of a meeting with our senior leadership team at the city of Boise, and I want the community to know that while we addressed COVID, we learned from it, we, worked in different ways, protected people and delivered new services. At the same time, we remained focused on the challenges that this community made clear we needed to address: affordable housing, building out a transportation system as traffic and congestion returns as we grow, building an economy through climate innovation and transition to clean energy. We worked on all those things at the same time that we had to address the urgent needs of the moment related to COVID. But as we open more and more, as folks get outside, you'll see me out and about more, having listening sessions around this community, asking this community to partner with us as we do more to address it, particularly affordable housing. It's housing, housing, housing. And I know we'll have the opportunity in the next couple of weeks to talk about that more, and I really look forward to it.